back for more, I see. Stormcast time, video 3. How did we do these weapons? Let's crack on, shall we? See ya on the other side of this. Hey everybody, I'm Wayne, and welcome back to episode 3 in the series of creating our Stormcast theme. Super fast, super efficient, really easy, really high quality, tabletop standard that looks a little bit more interesting, hopefully, than the standard Games Workshop paint scheme. Fingers crossed you've learned something in the first couple of videos in this series. If you've not, pause it now and you want to catch up on those. Up there, videos 1 and 2. Down in the description, playlist link to it. If you're enjoying these, do give me a thumbs up. Do give me a comment down below. Let me know how you're getting on with yours. I would love to find out if you are following along with this and what your progress is. Even better, I would love to know if you're taking anything away from these videos and you've come up with your own schemes as well using this technique. Okay, so in this video, like I said, we're going to look at how we created these lightning infused weapons. Now, it's dead straightforward. It only involves a couple of steps. You can do it with a brush if you want. However, I will be using an airbrush, so I'll see the majority of you later because I realise you're all going to leave now. But if you are sticking around, I think you're really going to enjoy this one. As we've done in the other videos, we're going to talk a little bit as well around the techniques and the theory behind why we're doing what we're doing, rather than just giving you a step-by-step to achieve this specific look. The idea there is you'll be able to learn from what I'm doing and you'll be able to apply that to your own themes, and hopefully it'll help make you a more efficient painter going forwards, and perhaps you'll learn to enjoy painting a little bit more than perhaps you already do. That'd be fantastic. And if that is the case, then again, do let me know down in the comments. I would absolutely love if at least one person could come away from these videos thinking, you know what, painting is actually a really fun side of the hobby for me. Without further ado, let's jump in and talk about how we create that lightning infused weapon look. Stevie, if you'd be so kind as to help us visualize what we've got done so far. So we've done as armor, we've done as trim and materials, and we're in a good place now where we can start to work on that glow on the weapons and on the eyes. Now, again, thinking about contrast, look how much different this looks against a black background. It's so much brighter. We're going to create it using an airbrush. Now, it's not essential. I'm using an Iwata Eclipse and HBCS Infinity. It's just a little bit easier for me to jump backwards and forwards between two colours. So what we're going to do is we're going to go backwards and forwards between white and the colour that we're overlaying. The reason for that is going over white, acrylic paint's translucent, so it gives us a much brighter finish, and that against the darker metallic background and the darkness we're going to create, or already have created, is going to help it stand out and give us that really vibrant glow. Okay then, let's move into the first stage. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to have to establish that white base. I'm using a Liquitex white ink here, and all I'm going to do is get on a size 3 brush, and I'm just going to quite easily drop it into the eye sockets and run it around the recesses on the armor. Now you can use any weapon here that you would want. Just find some areas where you want the glow to be emitted from and run the white ink in those. You may need to do it a couple of times to establish a really vibrant white, but that's not a problem. Just let it dry before each layer. You don't need to be overly neat here. The ink will find its own level and just flow into those details. There you go. Step 1 done. Nice and easy. Right, let's go on to step 2. Now what we want to do is create that diffused glow, again using white to act as the base. As we've already discussed, this is going to give us the base that we're going to put the other colours on. Now, I'm just doing thin, light, even layers around where we've already placed the white. On the underside of the armor, you'll notice that I'm pulling the airbrush back a little bit. That's giving us that nice, intense white in the center, and it's just softening it out, diffusing it, giving us a solid base for the glow. Onto the eyes then. Now you need to be a little bit careful here. I'm using very light trigger pressure, and I'm just giving a slight glow around the eyes. Again, just using the same white paint. Once you've done that, you should end up with something like this. That's our base done. On to the next stage. It's at this point we need to start building up the colour then. So we've got that white base, and what we're going to do is go backwards and forth between the colour and white, colour and white, colour and white to really build up that intensity. Here we can see a couple of colours. I'm using a fluorescent blue, a medium blue and a white. And I'm also going to use a purple ink. That's just to give some more visual interest because we used purple as our accent colour earlier. Now you can use any colours you want here. Do feel free to swap them out, but the steps are functionally the same. You want a deep colour, a mid colour and the white. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spray on a little bit of purple. That's going to act as an underpaint and make the blues richer later, and it also adds some visual coherency to the purple that we used on the armour in the previous step. Once I've done this, it's a really light coat, again using the airbrush over the top of that white foundation that we've just created. Next step, as I said, is we're going to go back to the white, and we're basically going to do the previous few steps again. As you can see here, it's lightly tinted the model, the armour, and it's looking good. Next up then, we're going to jump back to white, and we're literally going to re-establish what we previously did, but we're going to use a slightly smaller radius. And we're going to do that on each of the subsequent steps. So it's this backwards and forwards between white colour, white colour. It's a little bit tedious, but if you're doing this on an army, then it becomes a production line, and it's nice, straightforward, and it's just a fast way of going through it. So there you can see, we've left a little bit of the purple showing through, and we're going to re-establish the white, so the hot spots, this is where the colour will be most vibrant, the centre of the glow, and this is what's going to give us that nice glowing effect. Again, thinking back to what we talked about previously, it's all about the contrast. Using the white is really going to give us that contrast. Okay, so my next colour is fluorescent blue. Now I've really thinned this down. As you can see, it's super thin. And as the blue interacts with the purple, we get a nice gradient going on already. And it also acts as darkening the outer side of the blue, so we've not got the same tone. As we come towards the white, the blue is just tinting the colour, letting the white shine through, giving it that perception of it being hotter, brighter on those white parts. As you can see here, it's already starting to give us a lot of the effect we're working towards. Now, what we're going to do again is back to the white. This is where having two airbrushes can really help. You by no means need it. It's very easy to swap the paints out, but just for expedience on one model, that's why you'll see me using different airbrushes here. So all I'm doing is, again, exactly the same steps, re-establishing what we did before. Airbrush, running some ink into the lines, a little bit less each time I do it, just pulling it towards the center, which is what I want the brightest spot to be, where I've already built up that brighter white spot back into the eyes. Here we are. And then we're going to do it with the next blue. So I'm using the Vallejo Electric Blue here. Exactly the same step again. Rinse and repeat. We're just going to do this one more time here. So here you can see we're really starting to get the vibrancy of the blue, how that's playing. And obviously this is very much contrasting with that deep golden hue of the armor. If you've not watched the previous video on what we did here, strongly recommend you go back and watch that armor tutorial. We talk a lot in there about establishing contrast and the brights and darks. And what really sells this effect, as I've continually said, is playing with contrast between the brightest bright and the darkest dark. Using that enamel wash has really allowed us to create a very rich, deep shadowscape that we can use these highlights to play off of, making it even brighter. As we move on to the eyes then, this can be quite an intimidating part. It's a small, detailed area, and I often get asked, what pressure should I be using? How thin should my paints be? Well, it's really up to you, and it depends on your airbrush, your setup. There isn't really a magic formula. You'll just have to find what works for your specific setup, but thinner paints are generally better. Over thin them, you'll get spidering, so you want the consistency of milk, basically. Now we're coming to the final step here. We're just going to finally re-establish the whites at the brightest point, the hottest point on the model. This is the part that really sells the effect. The underside of the hammer, where we've got the radial glow, we're going to do exactly the same thing there, just as tight as possible, straight in the middle of it really. And again, we want to be pulling the airbrush back a little bit because we don't want the brightness to be concentrated too in the middle and just having a stark dot. And with that, we're pretty much done at this stage. And as you can see, the model's looking really good already now. That glow is really popping, and we've got a few things left to do. In the next video, we're going to tackle the base and how we can utilize our basing theme to really push what we've already done in these first 3 steps to the next level, completely finish it off, and hopefully you'll be really happy with what we've done. It's been nice and easy, if not somewhat laborious on this one, going backwards and forwards, but when you are doing it with an army, this method really does speed things up and gives you a really good tabletop standard. I think you'll agree. Well done, guys. Step 3, ticked off. You smashed it. Hopefully you've rocked that one and no problems at all. And we're on to a winner with it. Told you it was dead straightforward. There's literally nothing to it. It is just a backwards and forwards of those couple of steps, isn't it? We're 3 steps in of this 4-step video. The last thing we've got to tackle is the base. Now, do you need to watch that? Why is it important? Well, hopefully you're going to come back for that 4th episode and we can talk a little bit about why it is important to have a base that complements the scheme. But not only that, I'm going to give you tips and techniques on how the base can tie the entire miniature together and make your OSL even better. But you're going to have to come back later for that one. Thanks very much if you've stuck around this long. I do appreciate it. If you've not, as I say, do give us a subscribe. Let people know about it. I'm not asking for anything else out of this. I just really enjoy making these videos. And I will catch you in a couple of weeks' time in the 4th and last episode